Thanks so much for joining us here on this Tuesday. We do begin with a developing story out of Bardstown. More than a dozen residents and a police officer were taken to the hospital after a fire at a nursing home. It happened just after 6:30 this morning at the Landmark nursing home. Firefighters said staff and police were already evacuating residents by the time they arrived. We know 15 residents were taken to the hospital for smoke inhalation, including that officer. 38 were taken to a sister facility in Louisville. It took crews just minutes to get that fire under control. Officials there saying an electrical failure in the HVAC unit started that fire. Right now, LMPD's SWAT team is locked in a standoff with a barricaded suspect in the Shawnee neighborhood. Police tell us the suspect fired one shot in the 4300 block of West Market. There's no indication LMPD has fired any of their weapons at this time. You are asked to avoid the area. This is an ongoing story, so keep up to date with us online at WHAS11.com, as well as the free WHAS 11 app for all those immediate updates. A JCPS teacher is recovering after being struck by a car outside Barrett Middle School this morning. The district said a science class was engaged in a hands-on learning experience outside when a ball rolled into the roadway. The teacher went to retrieve that ball when a car hit her in the crosswalk. She was taken to the hospital conscious and talking. As you can imagine, though, some of her students were shaken by the event. School counselors are on site for anyone who needs them. Well, tonight, President Donald Trump will address a joint session of Congress where he is expected to explain his new tariffs to the American people. Those tariffs went into effect at midnight. Today, Canada, China, and Mexico announcing their own plans for retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio is in Washington with the potential impact on American families.
Today, several of our largest trading partners responding to President Trump's new tariffs. Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau today responding with a 25% tariff of his own.
Canadians are reasonable and we are polite, but we will not back down from a fight.
Mexico's president this morning saying she plans to talk to President Trump this week.
A México se le respeta.
If they can't reach an agreement, Mexico will impose tariffs on U.S. goods by this Sunday. The new U.S. tariffs went into effect at midnight, a 25% tax on all goods coming across the border from Mexico and Canada, and an additional 10% tax on Chinese products, which now makes it 20%. U.S. farmers could soon feel the pinch after China announced overnight it will impose additional tariffs of up to 15% on U.S. exports coming into China. The CEO of Target today warned American consumers will likely see higher prices on produce in the next few days.
We get a lot of fresh vegetables from Mexico, for example. I'd expect to see price increases there quickly.
The auto industry is also expected to take a hit, with the average new car cost increasing by over $3,000, according to research from J.P. Morgan.
So what they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States.
The president claims Canada and Mexico aren't doing enough to stop illegal immigration and fentanyl shipments, even though less than 1% of the fentanyl in the U.S. comes across the Canadian border.
It's not a defense to say more has come from Mexico, because way too much has come from Mexico, too.
President Trump is expected to address the tariffs in his speech before Congress tonight. He says the U.S. is getting ripped off by bad trade deals that cost American jobs. Nicole D'Antonio, ABC News, Washington.
President Trump also ordered a pause on all military aid to Ukraine following Friday's heated confrontation with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky in the Oval Office. It ended with Trump asking Zelensky to leave the White House. He canceled the mineral deal between the two countries. Vice President J.D. Vance said the administration is still open to signing that deal, which he says will help secure Ukraine.
If you want to actually ensure that Vladimir Putin does not invade Ukraine again, the very best security guarantee is to give Americans economic upside in the future of Ukraine.
Trump's order will affect mostly armored vehicles and potential future weapon shipments. Once again, President Trump is expected to discuss both the tariffs and the Ukraine situation tonight during the first congressional address of his second presidency. He'll speak at 9 o'clock, and you can watch the whole thing live right here on WHAS 11. I already had my parents ask me over the phone today, Brooke, how severe is this going to get? I said, we're just getting rain. Mallory says it's just rain.
Rain, we will have some wind, but in terms of that severe weather threat, that will be staying off to our south and southwest. Current temperatures warm right now. We are warming into the 60s all throughout Kentucky and at this lunchtime hour. Much warmer than this time yesterday. We're running about 15 to 25 degrees warmer than this time yesterday. So feeling like spring out there, but of course we're dealing with the wind as well as we take a live look from our Midway University U of L health camera there off Hurstbourne Parkway. We always like to show this when it is windy out, and we are starting to see those gusts pick up around 35 miles per hour in the Louisville metro area. Other spots seeing gusts between 20 to 30 miles per hour. So the National Weather Service went ahead and backed up our wind advisory to begin at noon today, taking us through 7 o'clock tomorrow. So expect gusty winds off and on today and for your Wednesday. Max HD radar, though, for us, it's quiet. So we're just seeing some thinning of the clouds right now. Partly cloudy to mostly cloudy, today, with temperatures topping out near that 70-degree mark as we head throughout the rest of the afternoon. So all in all, we're dealing with that wind advisory today and tomorrow. Rain moving in from the west this evening, especially after around sunset, and then a rain-snow mix possible by Wednesday afternoon and evening. I'll be timing that out for you coming up in our 7-day forecast.
Mallory, thank you. The death toll from last month's severe weather now up to 24 in Kentucky. Governor Andy Beshear said the death of a man in Floyd County was flooding related. We've seen deaths out of 15 counties now, including Jefferson, as a result of February's floods and dangerous cold. And right now, many Kentucky communities are still reporting damage from all that flooding. That includes houses and debris in the road, blocking parts of towns. Lawmakers met to discuss the disaster relief for these counties affected.
They're all seeing this debris as it's starting to come from the homes that people are mucking out their damaged property, and it's starting to pile up along the streets. And I've visited Eastern Kentucky twice since this event, and it's growing every single time we go over there.
As of now, lawmakers say there are 15 Kentucky counties needing individual disaster relief assistance. The estimated cost, $16 million. Victims of flooding can apply at disasterassistance.gov. A federal investigation shows November's Givaudan plant explosion was caused by a pressure release valve that failed to fully open. The new report is from the U.S. Chemical Safety Board, which wrapped up its investigation last week. It said that valve failure caused the temperature inside of a tank to soar nearly 400 degrees, despite several attempts by employees to cool it down. The tank then blew up. 6 employees were there at the time. 2 of them died. The Chemical Board will also evaluate emergency response efforts. Today, the Kentucky House will vote on a bill to require all school districts to adopt a no-phone policy. It comes as JCPS begins considering changes to its own rules that would expand a policy already in place at Fern Creek High. Our Ian Hardwick takes us inside to see how it works.
Just like this.
Dwayne Armand Langford
Bob
keeps his phone in this pouch all day like most Fern Creek High School students.
Less distraction, it's more success.
He learned the equation as the school committed to a phone-free day.
About 60 seats here in the cafeteria were designated for phone use during lunchtime, but not enough students were even using it for it to matter.
Assistant Principal Kenneth Christian convinced Principal Rebecca Nicholas that it'd work.
Even our best teachers would tell us, I can't compete with YouTube.
Students, their families, and staff alike voted for this policy change.
There will always be people who feel reluctance or who aren't sure if it will work for them. But I think building consensus is a really critical part of the process.
That's how they settled on the pouches, so students get to keep their phones. Special magnets unlock each pouch, and during emergencies, teachers have more magnets or scissors to cut them open. And it's cutting down on brain fog, says student Kendra Quay Mansell.
With the phone policy change this year, I realized that even outside school, I don't use my phone as much. Just there's always something happening on social media, and it's just like you're worrying about school, then you're worrying about this and that, and it's like it's not necessary.
Outside Fern Creek High, the JCPS School Board is considering a district-wide phone ban. In Louisville, Ian Hardwick, WHAS11, on your side.
The policy in place at Fern Creek bans phones all day long. House Bill 208 would ban cell phones in K-12 classrooms across Kentucky, except for emergencies. If it passes out of the House today, it moves on to the Senate.
The people feel when they don't have fire protection, they don't have ambulances.
The Jeffersonville City Council continues to discuss a new fire protection plan. Last night was the first reading of a $30 million proposal, which seeks to create a fire territory between Jeffersonville and Utica. Right now, Jeffersonville Fire's covering Utica Township on a contract. Heartland EMS is covering ambulance services. Council President Dustin White called this proposal an opportunity.
We will be serving Clark County residents through as we've always done. When called upon, we will assist Charlestown and Clarksville. Everybody wins on this. Yes, there will be some budget adjustments, but in the long run, we will have a better service, both fire prevention and fire protection.
To pay for the plan, the city would have to take local taxes away from some other Clark County municipalities. The council is set to vote on this proposal March 13th.